So you said you got up to 160, is that right? Like, okay, well, tell me what wait, you're how tall?
5'1".
5'1". Okay. What was that like? Like like getting to 160. How did that feel for you from like was that something you were generally accepting of, or was the weight,
I
was it
mean, at
kind
the
of
time,
arbitrary?
hell yeah. Like, I mean, I couldn't fit into clothes. I had like every like girl annoyance about having muscle, sure, but I definitely like. I mean, I was I was damn fucking strong. I worked damn fucking hard, and I took like I that was like that's bodybuilding for me. Like I took pride in how hard I worked for that, and you couldn't like. It's like, of course, as a female, you have times where it's like, fuck this. But most of the time, I really was just fucking proud of it. Like, it is what it is. This is what I look like. I worked hard to get here, right? And I think that was again my mentality was like, wait, I worked really like this wasn't an accident. Like what you say to me, like I did this on purpose, and I feel like females might get caught between that of like you want to look a certain way, but it's like, but you don't because you're a female, but it's like, oh, but I am doing this, you know. So most of the time I was in that mindset of like, yeah, like I did this, I look like this, and sometimes it hurts, and but it was awesome. And but I will say, like with figure, I mean, I needed to grow more. You know, it's which is crazy because again, I don't want to be that big ever again. Surely not. Um, but figure has just gotten to a point where it's like even then I wasn't going to be big enough, which is wild.
I think with that goalpost moving and also demanding a lot of sacrifice, a lot of risk, a lot of exposure. I think it's a consideration to make. I mean, I think it's a consideration to make across the divisions, and it's often a conversation I have with individuals who, who kind of like at bikini, they're like, oh, I don't like the look, like, and I don't want to have to not train hard, so I'm going to go for wellness, and I'm like, I support that, and if you want to do that, cool. But if you want to be a pro wellness competitor, if you want to be a pro figure competitor, there's a degree of exposure that I do think is expected if you want to be competitive and if your aspirations are that high.
I think a big part of that is also like you see like your idol, right? Who is fucking flawless, trains fucking hard, has the smallest waist ever, and probably used some PEDs to get there. Okay? Genetic freak. Then you have Sally, who genetically has the worst shape, is going to push weights and PEDs and food to no fucking no limit to get to, let's put Franciella on this table, right? You will never be able to do that without the repercussions of your face. And I think that is what I'm seeing way, way too often. Being like, wow, great improvement. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the
It's
thing.
it's good if call her down, you're good. And it's like not a knock at those girls. Like I want it to be super clear. Um there are effects that are irreversible and there are effects that are largely, I would say, unplanned. I don't
And there's
think
life after bodybuilding. That's the thing. It's like you can't bodybuild. I mean, yeah, you can bodybuild into your 60s, 70s, sure. If you just hard committed that hard, I couldn't do it. But otherwise, like there's life after bodybuilding, and like as a coach, like I refuse to viralize a girl. Like you get anything, pick up the fucking phone, let's talk. Like I refuse to be a part of potentially something they might regret for the rest of their life. Like I'm just like there are people who like there are coaches who don't care and do whatever and will do whatever you say ultimately. And I'm not that person. It scares the shit out of me. Like and I did use PEDs, but I I feel like I worked hard to warrant the amount that I could take and get results from.
I want to I want to go back to I mean two things I want to say there. Um I love that. I think it is rarer than people realize is a coach who has that set boundary that's like, yo, like you have to go to sleep at night knowing like you didn't put the drug in the person, but you were a part of their decision making process. And it's very similar what you described is how I feel about any kind of enablement, I'm pretty sure I'm making that word up, any kind of I'm partaking in them using that PED, and there always is that chance they could wake up in 10 years, 15 years, and I don't want someone to look back and be like, I wish Corey had been more conservative. I wish she had held back a little bit more, because if I had her on my shoulder like, oh, I think this is a little too soon, I don't think it's going to be what you think it's going to be, I wouldn't have made those decisions. And I'm fortunate that I had people in my corner, which I imagine you had people in your corner telling you early on, like, get the most out of what you can outside of the drugs. And then from there, make your decisions. But that kind of support, even from people around you, is rare. And that's where I think like genetic potential is certainly a part of the discussion for the athlete would who claims they accept more risk is okay, but what does this look like? What do you plan to do with this bodybuilding career? Are you going to the Olympia? Do you have the means outside of the
Right.
sport to support you going to the Olympia? Like, how many cycles are you committing to past this point? If you turn pro and you used a lot of drugs to turn pro, are you now in a position down the line where it's like, okay, but every season now you're committing to 8 months on cycle? It's like that
Also,
will
this
have
conversation
effects.
of like the cycle gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger is like, well, why? Do you like? I'm like, this is like a misconception of like, well, I did this, so next time I'm doing more. It's like if I did this and you got these results, try again.
Yeah, I think exponentially increasing your dose to yield more results. It is something that we can kind of scale back. And I like to think of it this way. It's like, okay, how much muscle do you actually need? If you need 10 pounds, if you need 20 pounds, are you using PEDs from the rip to get that? Or are you someone who, let's say, is a professional or very close to being a professional and maybe one of the upper divisions who is now saying, like, hey, I need realistically 5 pounds to be super competitive to make that jump to the next milestone in my career? And is that the point in which you're considering use? Because those are two very different discussions.
Right, right. I mean, right. It comes down to that. Like, okay, are you your genetic ability, right? Like, are you gonna go to the Olympia? Are you like truly? I mean, but I really think it comes down to people just being honest. It's like you. I can ult like most people like their first check in, even like no muscle, absolutely no muscle. You can look at their bone structure and say, okay, they have the genetic ability to do this. And I don't think that a lot of people are looking at that. I think it's like, oh well, it's bodybuilding, sure, and you can build anything. But when it comes to competitive bodybuilding, I think coaches just need to people, even just everybody, be honest to your friends. Like, cool, you like bodybuilding, but like if we're being honest here, like you don't have the smallest waist in the whole world, and if you didn't start there, you're already beat.